What's up, it's Dainty, and today I'm taking you with me to the very first place I moved out to. It is one of Sydney's hidden gems full of amazing artworks, and it is a relatively decrepit warehouse. Come with me. This is one of the many spots I would hang out. I remember when I lived here was when I first started getting into modeling, and every photographer that I worked with wanted to shoot here. So I have so many photos when I started modeling just with these like graffiti backgrounds. We are approaching my old apartment right behind that cage there. So my old housemate actually built this cage to try and keep people from entering our apartment all the time because there were so many parties, so many just like random people showing up to this warehouse. So we built this cage to stop people from trying to get into our apartment, like when there were parties and stuff, but also graffitiing on our door. It used to be red. They changed it to green. Interesting. Kind of miss the red door, the beautiful sounds of the city. The amount of photo shoots I did on this balcony here. I did a photo shoot where I was on those stairs there. This has actually changed a lot. The thing about this place is the graffiti constantly changes. The lift would constantly break in this building, like at least once every 2 to 3 weeks it would be broken. And the amount of times I had to walk up and down that staircase, the never-ending staircase with my school bags, with groceries, with just like really heavy things, was kind of traumatic. But you do get to see all the beautiful art along the way. So I guess that's one good thing about the lift breaking. This artwork here was actually one that my roommate did, and I'm surprised it's still here. No one's painted over it. That's really cool. There's this unspoken rule that you don't tag over any of the respected artists. So if there's a really beautiful artwork like this one here, or any of the well-known artists, if you ever painted over it or tagged over it, you're in trouble. They'd come to get you. The residents of this place were always very, very protective of who they let in as well, even though there'd be constantly just like block parties and a lot of like sketchy things happening. Everyone was very, very protective of who they actually let in, because a lot of the time some people would try and come in just to tag and do their little tags over really nice artworks, and I think that was the main reason that people were very protective of who came into the building. I think someone lost their mind here, because I don't know if you're picking up on this is everywhere. Someone definitely lost their shit. I'm pretty sure I did one of my only tags on one of these steps here. It might have been this one right here, and it was a little pink dainty with a cat like outline next to it. Clearly it wasn't good enough to not be tagged over because it is long gone now. But yes, that is where I did one of my only tags in this building. One of the sad things about this place is landlords that own the whole building. They never liked the graffiti. Even though the graffiti was obviously the thing that made this place so beautiful, they started painting over it with just like this ugly gray paint everywhere. This place actually used to be way more colorful, way more artwork. And I remember the day that they painted over the lobby in gray. Everyone was so upset, rightfully so as well. The artworks were beautiful. Can you see the tags all down that, like whatever that is? And see how high up we are here? Someone had to literally climb that and risk their life. I can't even look down, it's so scary. This building was mostly full of artists, musicians, just creative people, but there were a few businesses. There was a hairdresser downstairs that I used to get my hair cut at, and I feel like that might have been one of the only businesses that I knew of at the time, other than like sketchy businesses. But yeah, it was mostly just full of really creative people, and that's what made this place so magical at the time. When I moved into this place, the apartment that I lived in didn't actually have a toilet within the apartment, so we had to use the toilet outside here. So I remember there were so many nights like I would have to get up like in the middle of the night, walk down this like dodgy hallway into this bathroom, and I'm surprised that I survived that phase of my life. Now that I think back at it, rats, oh my God, there were so many rats. There were so many cockroaches as well. But there were a lot of good things, like cheap rent. Very, very cheap rent. And this was really, really close to where I was going to school as well. So it was just a short walk for me to go to uni. So it was very convenient for me. And I loved living here when I did live here. Yeah, I think towards the end when I decided to move out, I just had gotten to a stage where I got that rebellious side out of me to a degree, and I just wanted to have, I guess, like a more stable environment. As fun as it was here, you know, sometimes it's nice to just have like clean things, not be woken up at 3 a.m. to like blasting music, you know, things you kind of grow out of. Yeah. So many parties on this balcony here, which actually makes me so nervous now because at the time, I don't think I realized how high up this balcony is. And this would be like packed full of people, just like leaning up against the balustrade. The artworks down there have changed so many times. Now it's dinosaurs, as you can see. Dinosaurs is the theme of the year, apparently. If the elevator ever did break, and you had to use the staircase, you would lose track of what floor you're on because that's how often the artworks would change. So it'd feel like it was never ending. So many memories, so many lack of memories. It was a good time. When I moved out here, my mom helped me bringing my stuff over, and she only ever came over here once, and she described it as very bohemian. I think that was a very nice way of saying it was dodgy and she didn't trust it. This is the balcony that no one's allowed on. Toilet 1, toilet 2. You think I'd make a good real estate agent? It has a rustic charm. When there'd be big parties here, there would be people literally everywhere, like all around here, all upstairs, all on the roof, even though they were not allowed on the roof. It would just be packed full of people. There would be hip hop playing in that apartment. There would be drum and bass coming from our apartment. It was like every apartment, every level almost had like a different theme to it. And that was one of the amazing things about coming to the parties here, was you just got a little bit of everything. Because all of these apartments weren't technically residential apartments, we weren't technically allowed to live here. And because of that, a lot of the apartments didn't have basic things like walls between like rooms. Some of the apartments would just have like sheets hanging up to divide the bedrooms. But the place that I lived, my roommate and someone else who used to live there, they built the walls and they built a kitchen, they built a bathroom. So it was actually quite a good functioning apartment, unlike some of the other ones that just had literally like sheets hanging up to divide the rooms. There was one time that I came home and the kitchen had been completely rearranged. They had built an island bench in the kitchen and they'd painted the floors and it was just completely different. They basically renovated the kitchen in what I think was like a day. So it was kind of cool coming back to just like, you know, just like new things constantly. It was an unstable time. It was a fun time. It was a time for growth. It was a time for learning. This building is sort of like a bit of a hidden gem for a lot of musicians. There are a lot of rumors going around about, I won't say who, but let's just say like really big artists coming in here, playing gigs here, hanging out. I guess it was kind of part of the mystery and charm of the building because there were so many stories and you never really knew what was true because this was considered quite an exclusive kind of building, like it wasn't easy to get into it. I think that's why a lot of musicians, including some bigger names, would come here to hang out, play some music, I don't know. There were some really cool things that the residents used to do in this building. I remember there was one event called Secret Wars where there'd be two artists basically battling each other with just like freestyle painting or like graffiti art. There was another event called Sketch the Rhyme, and that's when I'm pretty sure there'd be either one or two artists doing big artworks while we'd have musicians and rappers like freestyle rapping at the same time. It's really cool living amongst like very creative people like that. The amount of times this lift broke, I'm actually kind of scared to get in it. Oh my God, I remember the smell of this lift. It's not a pleasant smell. The lift here is like people's first impression of the building because it's the first spot that people get into in this building. It's very colorful. I'm trying to see if any of my stickers are here. I remember trying to stick some up here. We'll never know. As you can see in the lobby, the walls and ceilings have been grayed out. It used to be very colorful, like the rest of the building. I guess that's what kind of makes it special in a way. When I was here, it was a moment in time where everything was just really colorful, very vibrant, and that moment has passed, and you might not be able to see it now, but it's under all this paint here. I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me to the very first place I moved out to, this living, breathing artwork of a building, a moment in time for me that was very crazy, very unstable, and very, very fun. I hope you've learned a little bit about me and my history, and until next time, bye.